الله وبركاته. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحابته ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الكرام. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Alhamdulillah, the topic of the RIS is actually Muslims. For some reason, we've fallen into acronyms like other people. We've turned everything into acronyms. There's an interesting thing about the hadith about the Dajjal. Is the Prophet ﷺ said that it was written on his forehead, and then he had ya'a. He spelt it out, ka, fa, ra, like an acronym. The RIS is an acronym for reviving the Islamic spirit. Inna Allah yuhyi al-ardu ba'da mawtiha. Allah brings hearts. Some of the ulama say ard here can refer to the heart, because the heart is like the earth. You cultivate the heart. You plant seeds in the heart. You nurture the heart. And good things grow if you plant good seeds. Bad things grow if you plant bad seeds. What Dr. Tariq was saying, may Allah reward him, is unfortunately we've had a lot of bad seeds growing in the Muslim Ummah in many places. But there's something very important to remember. One of the madnesses of our age is that media has put us into a globalized world where we see everything at once. You know the Situation Room in CNN? They've got all the pictures in the back of all these different places. Human beings really can't take that much information. We know that human beings get overloaded by information. One of the things that we forget is that in times when the Muslims were falling apart in one area, they were growing in other areas. For instance, we forget that when Jerusalem was being occupied by the Crusaders, there was an amazing intellectual revival going on in Iraq at the same time. At the exact same time. Amazing. And in fact, part of that revival led to a revival of knowledge in that whole area, spreading into Syria, going into Egypt. Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, who on our Independence Day, what day Independence? Who's from America here? What day is Independence Day? July 4th. That's the day that Salahuddin won at the Battle of Hittin. July 4th, 1183. That's our Independence Day. So you can shoot off your firecrackers and feel good about it if you're from America. But if you look, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi spent his youth learning the deen, not throwing rocks at the occupiers. He was in there studying. Even though Al-Quds was occupied, he was nurturing the seeds of a tree that would grow and bear fruit. Now, those of us that are in the West, when we look at the Muslim world, there are many things that are troubling about the Muslim world, but there are many things that are very positive about the Muslim world. We're living in a time where the family is disintegrating in the West. We're in meltdown. We have more people now in single families and divorced families or unmarried families than there are married people. In fact, Buchanan lamented the fact in a book he wrote called The Death of the West, that Islam knows what the West forgot. That's what he says. Islam knows what the West forgot. The civilization is based on family. When we look also at the average Muslims who retain so much of the human qualities. I've traveled all over the Muslim world as well. And the thing that struck me most about the Muslims is their generosity. The poorest people you'll find, like the Afghani people that I used to be their imam in the United Arab Emirates, they were laborers who used to bring me food at night. And when they would get the date harvest, because they worked in the date orchards, they used to bring me the bowl because I was their imam. But that was only after they actually brought their Afghan imam to test me, because I prayed certain ways that they weren't used to. Once I got the Afghani seal of approval, that I was actually okay. They were beautiful people. I still remember those people, their faces, their turbans. They were village people from villages in Afghanistan. The same I can say about the people of Swat that I met in the Emirates, because I served a poor masjid, so I had the poor people coming to this place. And I learned something about just the humanity of the basic Muslims that so many people in the West have forgotten. Just basic humanity. When the Prophet ﷺ was asked, Ayyul Islami khayr, which Islam is the best? Ayyul Islam, which aspect of Islam is the best? An tut'im al-ta'am wa tusallim ala man arafta wa man lam ta'rif. That you should feed people and you should greet people who you know and who you don't know. If you notice, now people don't even say hello to people. We've forgotten basic humanity. We're very efficient in the West. It's amazing. You can get in an airport and arrive at another airport. You go, you hand a card to the person, they have your reservation, they give you the card, it's all wonderful, unless your card doesn't work. Unless there's a breakdown in the thing, and then you see how human people are. So many of the smiles are corporate smiles. And I can tell the difference between a corporate smile and a real smile. I can tell the difference between a corporate smile and a real smile. Thank you. Very nice that you're here. Thank you. Have a nice day. You know, there's all this is what's going on out there. People, we're losing our humanity. You can have a society that functions perfectly, everything works perfect, it's all, and they're not human beings. They're not human beings. What have you gained? What have you gained if you have an efficient society where everything runs and you don't have human beings in that society? The Islam that I want to see emerge in the West is an Islam that will take the best of the East and the best of the West, and we have a hybrid. I drive a hybrid. Because the best of the West is taken from our own tradition. I believe that. There's nothing, you can read all the leadership books you want. The greatest book ever written on leadership is the Book of Allah. You can read all the management books that you want. The greatest book on management is the Seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Really? You can read Maxwell's 21 of this, or 7 Habits of Highly Effective, whatever group he's on by now. He's written about 15 of those books. You can read all of those books, but in the end of the day, the Prophet ﷺ was building human beings. He was building human beings. And that's what we need to see the Muslim community in the West reinvigorated. People are humans in spite of themselves. Really, they're human in spite of themselves. They're human in the most basic meaning of that word. We cry, we laugh, we're happy, we're sad, we hate, we love, we're just, we're unjust sometimes. We love justice, even the unjust love justice if it applies to them. If you want me to answer, if you ask me what the single problem in the world today is, it's just egocentrism. That's all it is. It's just love of the nafs. It's just love of the nafs. Me, ana. It's egocentrism. And Islam is about theocentrism. It's about putting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the center of your life. Once you put Allah at the center of place. Socrates, one of the great heroes of the West. And they call him a hero, but nobody ever follows what he said. Socrates told the Athenians, all I ever hear about you talking about is the interest of the state. Like Henry Kissinger said, America doesn't have friends, America has interests. So the interest of America will override any other considerations. Socrates said, if you take care of your soul, the interests of the state will take care of themselves. In other words, if your preoccupation is virtue, then everything else will be in accordance. We come from an ummah that was centered around akhlaq. And that's what we've lost. The Muslims have lost akhlaq. إنما الأمم الأخلاق ما بقيت فإنهم ذهبت أخلاقهم ذهبوا. Nations are akhlaq. If you have akhlaq, the nation stays. Once the character or the morality of the nation goes, the nation follows suit. It goes with it. We have a big problem. But that problem that is in many parts of the world, I see the possibility of overcoming that problem here. And that's why the young people, we have 400 volunteers at Reviving the Islamic Spirit. And those young people need to have hope, because life is only sustainable when there's hope. If you take away hope from people, if your own bitter experiences of life negate the hope of a brighter future, you have no right in bringing children into this world. Because I have 5 children. I have 5 children. And I'm committed to hope. Until the day I die, until the last breath I take, I'm committed to hope. Because I look in my children's eyes and I see hope. When I take my 10-year-old to the Jumu'ah, he's just looking like waiting to hear what the Imam's going to say next. He deserves a good khutbah. And if we have ho-hum khutbahs, it's because we're not creating institutions to develop world-class imams and leadership. If you want to know why the Muslim world is in such a bad shape, look at their malls and look at their modern masjids. That's all you have to do. Look at their malls and look at their modern masjids. If you want to see why Turkey was once the greatest civilization on the planet, look at their masjids and then look at their marketplaces. May you have a blessed conference. May Allah give His tawfiq to this conference. May Allah bestow His bounty on this conference, on all the people that have worked so hard. May this be a fruitful few days of your life, and may you gain inspiration. May your spirit be revived. And may you go back to where you came from, or if you're here in Toronto, with a renewed spirit. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.